Everyone, welcome to another edition of the Bolt City podcast. Dave Pele, Josh Pele, Mario Aaron. I tell you what, I literally just had my head down and heard the music. What just happened here? You guys just got tired of me talking? Sending up, I just set them up right. All right, all right. So it rolls like a well-oiled machine. That's what we're going to do here. Look, Chargers back in action this week, and that's what's most important. Chargers back in action. Here's the deal: it's not a Sunday game, in case people aren't aware. Chargers taking on the Cowboys. Monday Night Football. So the Chargers again part of prime time. The good news is Chargers are part of prime time. Cowboys are always part of prime time. This is where they come out with that NFL schedule, guys, and you're going, okay, who's in prime time? And we knew about Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. So every time the Jets are in prime time, executives are going, man, what the hell do we do to get out of this? Like, when can we start swapping these games out? And another team that's in prime time a ton that nobody wants to see is the New York Giants. The Giants are in prime time all the time. And you're going, oh my God, they're literally one of the worst teams in the league. Daniel Jones is terrible to watch. And so for us as Charger fans and the Dallas Cowboys coming to town, we're going to run from it. It's a huge brand. It's the number one brand in sports, in American sports, is the Dallas Cowboys. Coming to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers, and the Chargers should feel excited, hungry, ready to play football because it's been a while.
Yeah, it's the one time I'm going to turn on the TV and be happy to hear about the Cowboys because they're playing the team that I like this week. It's ridiculous. Every week on ESPN is always Cowboys. Every week on Fox is always Cowboys. But this week I actually care. I have a question for you guys, though. The Jaguars stayed in England so they could adjust to the time change. Did the Cowboys stay in California for those 2 hours, that 2-hour time change? San Francisco down to LA to stay on the same clock? Get your ass kicked twice, hopefully.
Sorry, I'm going to jump in real quick, Mark. As dumb as that sounds when he was making a joke there, I literally was thinking that 2 weeks ago when I was looking at the schedule, and I was like, God, that's the dumbest thing ever. Of course they wouldn't do that, right? But guess what? Trevor Lawrence said staying in England, he knew they had a big advantage over the Bills because of the time change.
Dude, did you hear about the Bills? That they screwed the whole thing up? You heard about that, Mario?
Yeah, that was bad.
All right, Mario, you explain it.
They traveled overnight, I believe on Thursday, right? They traveled overnight, got there Friday, practiced on Friday, did film their normal stuff, and they were all dead tired. There was guys in press conferences that they're yeah, I'm really sleepy. I'm pretty tired. Did that on Saturday. A lot of them still felt jet lagged, and then I obviously went into Sunday. And we all saw beginning of that game. They just walked, they looked they were just walking through that first half. It was bad.
That's wild. Honestly, how do you mess that up? You only played 17 regular season games. The travel thing to me is a big deal. We've spoken about it with the Chargers when they go East Coast, that they'll go a day early if they're going to Eastern time zone. Central time zone, they usually just go the day before. Josh just made this flight yesterday, 24 hours ago. You jumped on a plane from California to Tennessee. You feel any different in basically 3.5 hour flight? Or you feel like, hey, I traveled yesterday? Do you feel normal?
I feel really tired. A 3.5 hour flight makes you tired. I don't know what the threshold is for when you're not tired, but I feel like just getting on a plane and being up there for even a little bit of time, your next day screwed up.
Not to mention, this might just be a me thing, but I can't get on a plane unless I'm on something. So I'm gonna be not you know what I'm saying? This could be just a personal thing, but that also is gonna screw me up for at least a day. So if you expect, any future plans, if I'm flying and you expect me to do something right after, it's probably not gonna happen.
You want the guy to call as a consultant to run a meeting as soon as you get off the plane. Mario, we're gonna rush you over to the hotel. We got to get you to start this meeting. In front of 500 people.
Yeah, it's gonna be a pretty loose and goose meeting. I'll tell you that much right now.
Gonna be the guy who's talking, trying to interact, throwing M&Ms at people.
Yeah,
I hate those guys. Hey, you know what? You just hit me in the face with a beanbag. Thanks. I didn't need the chocolate. I can afford my own. You ever have those guys? They're sitting there, Magic Johnson dishing assist because you participated. Hey, there's a beanbag you just hit me with. It hurt.
Head on a swivel.
Yeah, I need to be on something. I did not expect you to say that at all. All right, I want to jump into. We'll jump back into the Chargers, but I want to jump into the games that we didn't get a chance to talk about on Sunday's show. Of course, Sunday Night Football was going on. It was the game of the week. It was the Cowboys and Niners, and I talked about uniforms, guys, a few weeks ago when I said the Steelers playing the Raiders. How good this feels like. That's playoff football. When you see those Niners and Cowboy uniforms on the field at the same time, doesn't matter where they're playing, it feels like playoff football. But that's not the game we got. We didn't get what felt like a playoff game.
How many teams could give the San Francisco 49ers a game right now? Maybe 5? Maybe? I mean, this is the best team I've since the Patriots were undefeated for the whole regular season. That's how good this 49ers team is. And the Brock Purdy conversation, is he top 10? Is he not top 10? He's top 6, top 7. I mean, that kid, and I can call him a kid because I'm older than him, one of the few guys I'm older than. I can call him a kid. He's really good. He is a great decision maker, good quarterback. I don't even know if the Cowboys are not that good or the 49ers are a complete juggernaut.
When you said which teams could beat them, I really don't know. Like, my first mind was, okay, maybe Eagles, but Eagles still have some flaws. They're putting it together. Last game, they looked really, really good. The Bills have way too many injuries on the defensive side in that secondary. The Chiefs aren't there yet. I really don't know. Jacksonville can't do anything. I think Niners are the clear number one team. I agree with you on that 110%. The Brock Purdy thing, we got to accept he's a good quarterback. He's a very, very good quarterback. And he's in an offense that's surrounded by weapons where he can now be a little loose with the football. And that's okay. Not all of his throws are perfect, but he can do that because the guys he's throwing to are crazy athletes. They're top of the tier of players. Brandon Ayuk, is that how you say his last name? I'm going to mess up that last name. Okay, there we go. Let's go. First day, we got it. He's one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL. You can put that ball anywhere. He's going to make a play. You have Kittle, who's a hell of a tight end, top 3 tight end in the league. Deebo Samuel, who's just a hell of a weapon to have. They have CMC to tie that all up. Defensively, I mean, they have just defenders everywhere. And I think this was also a game, Dave, where the Cowboys found out, hey, we're a good team, but we're not a Super Bowl caliber great team. We're still just a playoff contender, and that's about the cream of the crop for us.
All right, let's go back to where Josh started as far as who could compete with them. I'm with Mario. The first team comes to mind is Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is not where they need to be, and I'm sure they will be there come playoff time. Right now, it's not even close. I can't remember a disparity in the NFL like what I'm seeing right now from the Niners. I mean, the Niners, talent for talent, their defense looks like an all-pro team. Their offense looks like an all-pro team. It is crazy how many weapons they have. Plus, honestly, guys, I think they have the best coach in the NFL. I think Kyle Shanahan is a crazy genius. And we talk about that coaching tree of course, McVay and Shanahan and McDaniel, and you're going, those 3 guys might be the 3 smartest guys in football. They just do things every single week. And that's saying a lot because Andy Reid's, I think, a really bright guy. The Chiefs, though, don't play with the same athleticism and speed that the Niners play with. They don't have the talent to match up with the Niners. And it's not too often where you go, what do you mean? The Chiefs are a team that's always in the postseason. The Niners just look that good right now. And maybe it lasts, maybe it doesn't last. What stood out in my mind, though, watching the Niners and watching a guy like Brock Purdy and have the success he had, and I honestly believe there are other quarterbacks in the league, if you stuck them on the Niners, could do what Brock Purdy does. Not to take anything away. It's working. My thing is, I think Shanahan puts these guys offensively in a position where they are that dangerous, which tells me Trey Lance sucks. Trey Lance couldn't make it work. Think about it. They did everything they could to make it work with Trey Lance, to make it look like John Lynch wasn't an idiot for moving up in the draft to get him. If Trey Lance couldn't play in San Francisco, Trey Lance couldn't play with anybody. Because Josh, I think you broke it down on 2 shows ago about what the Niners do offensively and how guys are always open. And it's basically easy to move the ball downfield. As good as Kittle is, anyone who's had Kittle on their fantasy football team the last 4 years, he's the most frustrating guy, Mario. He's your Ravens. Yeah. He is frustrating as can be. I mean, even the other day, he only had 3 receptions. They all happen to be touchdowns, but he doesn't do that every week. They don't get the ball to him every single week. He frustrates the hell out of me. I take Laporta over with the Lions before I take Kittle on my fantasy team. But what the Niners do defensively, and this was a conversation in our house a couple days ago, was who would you rather have, TJ Watt or Nick Bosa? Guys, I'm not so sure Fred Warner's not the defensive player I'd rather have first.
Fred Warner is the most dynamic linebacker that I could remember. Ray Lewis, right? The best middle linebacker that we've seen in my lifetime, the best I've ever seen. He did not cover like Fred Warner. I'm not saying Fred Warner is better than Ray Lewis, but Fred Warner can cover receivers, really good receivers. He can get your quarterback. He can make every tackle on the field. Right now, he's the best defensive player in the NFL. I know TJ Watt has a ton of tackles. He is the best defensive player on the best team, the 49ers, and he is a freak. He's from San Diego. We remember him in high school. He wasn't Fred Warner like that in high school. He is an absolute freak. And when he came out of BYU, he wasn't supposed to be this good. D'Amico Ryans was his coach. He gives a lot of credit to D'Amico Ryans, who's now the head coach of the Texans, and he's developed into this complete Swiss Army knife that you do not know what to do with. If you want him to cover your running back, he'll do it. If you want him to cover your star tight end, he'll do it. There's nothing that Fred Warner can't do.
He ran with the fastest guy on the Cowboys on that one play. That was freaking nuts. And like wasn't losing a step. He wasn't gaining on him, but he wasn't losing a step. That blew me away. I couldn't believe it.
I think the thing too with the Niners is they haven't got hit by the injury bug yet.
Yeah.
Like that's the other thing too, that we're seeing them at this full throttle and everyone's healthy. Everyone's riding high. We haven't really seen them. I mean, Samuel was a little dinged up, played. Kittle, I believe, before week 1, which is the classic. Gets dinged up, but he ends up playing. CMC gets a lot of touches. I'm interested to see how that kind of goes along throughout the year. But right now, yeah, I think they're clear number 1. And I don't think that's a shocking thing to say. Purdy, I think, is a guy that's only going to get better throughout the year. He's only going to get better. And he just did a playoff run last year, not fully healthy. He's going to come in a lot calmer. I think that's going to be huge for them. My question is now, the Cowboys on the public stage just got, murdered. Like, terrible. And it was one of those things when going into it, you see these Cowboy fans. I saw them all the time. I have some guys that cover the Cowboys all going, Niners are coming in too cocky, this and that. Boy, they should have came in cocky because there was a good joke I could have made right there, but we hashtag keep it clean. But they owned you the whole time. It was an unfair matchup. Dak Prescott like a high school quarterback out there with his 3 interceptions. Cowboys had 8 total first downs. They had 4 turnovers. They only had 57 rushing yards. Dave, are the Cowboys going to show up more hungry, you think, after this loss and more embarrassed? This is back-to-back games on the front stage where if they don't show up, Stephen A. Smith's clowning them the next morning.
Okay, well, here's the deal. We talked about it on the show the other day. I think, Mario, you're the one that phrased the question was, the Chargers in better shape if the Cowboys win or if the Cowboys lose? And my answer to you was, I don't think the Cowboys are any good. Look who they faced. Now, I don't mean any good like they aren't a playoff team. I mean, they aren't, to me, a Super Bowl contender. They aren't what the Eagles are and they're what the Niners are. Dude, they beat the Giants. They beat the Jets. They beat the Patriots. Those were their wins. They lost to the Cardinals on the road, which was ridiculous. People say, well, they slipped up. They gave one away that they shouldn't have given away. Well, then you go against the Niners and you lose by, 28 points? And it wasn't close. It just wasn't close. So, if I'm the Chargers, I'm like, that's fine. The Cowboys offense is basically boring. It's not complicated. And at the same time, the Cowboys defense, there are a few guys that they have injured that, are supposed to be big time players. But Parsons is your one guy. Parsons is the one guy you have to worry about. I think the Chargers can be fine against Parsons. So what? Let's say he gets 2 sacks in the game. It's 2 plays. That's it. It's 2 plays. It's 2 holding penalties. That's basically what it is. Not worried about Parsons changing the game for the Chargers. Chargers go about their business, do their thing, and hopefully we get some guys healthy. I like the Chargers in this game. And I'll just ask you now, what is the line right now as we do the show on a Tuesday?
Do you want to guess or want me to tell you? I'll make sure it didn't move right now because I had it this morning.
I'll guess.
Go.
I'll go Cowboys by 1.
I'll go Cowboys by 2.
Hold on. It was Cowboys by 2 this morning, and let me check right now. It is it's all the way down there. Yep, still Cowboys favored by 2. Over-under is 50.5, which is the highest over-under of the week.
Wow.
I'm curious to why. The Cowboys haven't put up that many points. Like Dave said, they haven't played that many good teams. Dak Prescott and Tony Pollard have combined for 7 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb has not been the receiver that we thought he was going to be because Dak's not giving him the ball. Once Trayvon Diggs got hurt, this Cowboys team looks even more deflated. I don't understand what the hype is. I know it's America's team, self-proclaimed America's team. I look at those ESPN power rankings like a lot of us do. And where would you guys rank the Cowboys out of all 32 teams? Where should they be?
12
or 13.
I don't know if
where would or where's the ESPN put them?
What does ESPN? All right, that's what you would say, 12 or 13. Where does ESPN have them?
Oh, I bet 5.
Okay. What do you think, Dave?
I'll say 9.
Right in the middle, 7.
Oh,
that's ridiculous.
Here's the crazy. You want to hear something even more ridiculous? Yes. They have the Chargers as 13, and they have them as the 7th best team in the AFC. They moved down. They moved down 1, and they didn't even play last week. How does that happen?
Because they aren't watching. I had news for you. They aren't watching. Chargers aren't going to ever get the respect that maybe they deserve because guess what? You haven't won Super Bowls. You don't have that history. People aren't watching. They aren't paying attention. Chargers, I think, still nationally are looked at as the second best team in LA.
Maybe. But I don't know how you could rank the Chargers even lower when they're getting their Austin Ekeler back. Like Austin Ekeler is playing this week against the Cowboys. That's such a big deal. I know Mike Williams is a big deal too, but you want to have Austin Ekeler there, the second most dynamic running back in the NFL, right behind Christian McCaffrey. I think that's just a huge deal. The Chargers offense already looks very good. You're going to add Austin Ekeler to this. You're going to say the 13th best team in the AFC, seventh best team in the AFC. Come on, give me a break. And the Cowboys, you can't tell me there's anything they've done impressive on offense this entire season.
So who are the 3 teams that are below that rounds up the top 10 for the Cowboys?
All right. Number 8 is the Seahawks. Number 9 is the Buccaneers. Number 10 is the Jaguars.
Wow. Okay. That's a discussion for a different day, but Bucks that high is that's gonna come down at one point. I imagine that the worry with the Chargers just has to be this defense, right? Like that's when I think in my mind of what's bringing this team down and what keeps them low in these rankings. I imagine it's got to be the defense. And you mentioned how's it over under so high because this Cowboys offense. I mean, we've mentioned a lot during the show. Are they really that good, or are they getting good opportunities from their defense? And we saw in the Niners game. Yeah, their offense is not that good. We saw in the Cardinals game. Their offense is not that good. It can be stopped. It can be slowed down. But I think in terms of when you look at the Chargers defense, you're like, but is there an offense they've slowed down? Is there an offense they've stopped? And they haven't. And look, I like the Chargers in this matchup, but I also think I'd be lying to you if I didn't say this is also going to be a get right spot for Dak and CeeDee Lamb. Like, I think those guys are going to have their day. Don't get me wrong. I think CeeDee Lamb's going to have a handful of touchdowns. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Dak has a really good game, throws for over 250 yards. I think Chargers win, but I'd be lying to you if I said they wouldn't be getting a get right spot this week against us, Dave.
Here's the deal. Chargers have had time to prepare. All right. They've had time to get a little bit healthy, obviously, with the bye week. Chargers have gone against better quarterbacks and better wide receivers than the 2 guys you just mentioned. All right. And Cowboy fans will hate me saying this. I'll take Kirk Cousins over Dak Prescott. I'll take Justin Jefferson over CeeDee Lamb. They're able to pull out wins on the road right there against the Vikes. Just doing that. I understand the Vikes aren't the Vikes, but those guys are still the same guys. And those 2 guys, to me, are better than what the Cowboys have. The Chargers should win this game. I don't care what the spread is. The Chargers should win this game. With Ekeler coming back, this is a different team. With Kellen Moore having a chip on his shoulder, this is a different team. I expect the Chargers. I think it's going to be a great game, but I think the Chargers finish on top. I'll be shocked if they don't.
Yeah, if there's any other team that is going in from a bye week into their next game, you'd say that their coach had a lot of time to prepare to get them on track. If Sean McVay had an extra week to prepare his offense, if Mike McDaniel had an extra week to prepare his offense, you'd say they're going to light it up. Brandon Staley's the defensive coach. He has an extra week to prepare. You'd expect him to be a little bit better. And I know there's nothing he can draw up for Michael Davis covering, CeeDee Lamb. Like, he can't do anything about that. But for God's sakes, you have time to prepare for this game. I'd expect them to limit a team that has struggled a little bit. We have guys coming back from injury. We have Eric Kendricks should be pretty healthy. Alohi Gilman's going to play this week, hopefully. Derwin James. We got guys that are going to play that weren't playing against the Raiders. Kendricks played, but those other guys didn't. Can't talk. But I'd expect the Chargers to perform well. Let's move over to Monday Night Football. The Raiders kind of shocked the world a little bit by beating the Packers. Were you surprised, Mario?
I felt good. I felt really, really good because my hanging on by the edge of my seat of Jordan Love isn't very good. Felt great. And that came through. I mean, that one pick he had, I believe, in the first half, that was a dart to the linebacker. I mean, an absolute dart. It looked like he forgot what team he was on. It looked like he was like, oh, I'm wearing, black and silver tonight. I mean, it was an exact dart. It did surprise me because I thought LaFleur would be able to outcoach McDaniels. I thought that would be something that he would be able to figure out pretty quickly. They did not have their starting running back and blanking on his name. They had AJ Dillon instead, Aaron Jones. Which, by the way, I know they didn't have him, and a lot of Packer fans are making that seem like a huge deal. AJ Dillon's still a pretty solid running back, by the way. Yeah. So they should have been fine. I was surprised by the win. I thought Packers would pull it out in the end, and I thought that when I saw that they scored early in the fourth, I was watching. I was like, all right, this is Jordan Love's kind of early, I don't want to say coming out party, but early example of, oh, he can lead a team. And we didn't get that. We didn't get that against the Raiders. And I mean, if this is a loss, I think it's a loss for Packer fans that they should be a little bit worried about. Like, you should be able to beat the Raiders. I don't care if it's in Las Vegas. Packer fans travel well. It was tough. I mean, Dave, like, did you leave this game having a little bit more, I guess, confidence in the Raiders and a little less in the Packers? Like, come on, make me happy here. Packers suck.
Hold on. But I picked the Raiders to win.
I picked the Raiders to win.
I picked the Raiders to win. And also, here's the funny thing is I told you all summer long Jordan Love was terrible. I went on and on almost every show. I thought he was one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. I saw him play in college. There's hardly anything I can see from Jordan Love where I said this guy's any good. Then I had to come out on the show 3 weeks in and say, guess what? I think I was wrong on, or 2 weeks in, say I think I was wrong on Jordan Love. The guy can play. Guess what? He can't. He's thrown 6 interceptions in his last 3 games. Packers right now aren't a force to be reckoned with. It's a huge step down when you lose Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers. They aren't the same old Packers. And so right now, for what the Raiders are doing, here's where the AFC West should be concerned with the Raiders. The Raiders' next games coming up. Patriots at home, at the Chicago Bears. The Lions is tough. That one's on the road. Then they go Giants and Jets. I mean, there are possibly a lot of wins coming up for the Raiders in the next month. I mean, not until I think like November 19th or something does it happen where the Raiders start playing good teams again. But there's a run there that the Raiders could put together. Here's one thing I always like, by the way, about the Raiders and the Titans. And we've talked about these guys on the show because the Chargers have faced these guys. I don't think most NFL fans realize how great Max Crosby is. And unless you're just a dire football fan like the three of us, you realize when you watch a game like last night, God, that 98 is ridiculous. Max Crosby is insane. And everything teams do to try and stop him, and yet he's involved and his motor never stops. My favorite thing about the guy is he's never injured. He never misses a play. He's ready to go all the time. And the other guy is the same thing. Number 98, we talked about him in week 2. Jeffrey Simmons is the same kind of guy that nobody ever talks about because he's not on teams like the Niners or the Cowboys. But those two guys are huge weapons for what they have. Imagine how crappy the Raiders would be if they didn't have Max Crosby.
Oh my God. The Raiders are one of the few teams that are carried by like three players. You have a lot of teams that are cohesive. They have, different guys that contribute. It's Josh Jacobs, Max Crosby, Davante Adams every single game. That's kind of amazing what they do over there. I'm not so sure the Raiders are any good though. I thought my takeaway from yesterday's game was the Packers just are bad. Jordan Love just does not look good. His completion percentage is barely over 50%. And that's against a Raiders team that doesn't have a good defense. I don't know, man. The Packers have major issues. Their receiving corps is weak. Jordan Love looks like he gets rattled under pressure. Jimmy Garoppolo, like Dave likes to say, all he does is win. He kind of does, but he doesn't look good doing it. He always does it with under 200 yards. I don't think the Raiders are any good. Packers just are a bad team.
He did not have a strong game last night at all. Jimmy G did not. It wasn't one of those games where Jimmy G won you the game. He didn't really look very good either. Packers, I think that they got to address the receiving core. They have to address that. They got to get something. I mean, we saw Van Jefferson was up for grabs today. Josh, you literally texted us. We should mention that we would love to see Chargers get him. And then he's snagged by the Falcons 2 hours later. They got to address that if they want to be any type of contender and or want to compete with the Lions, because right now the NFC North looks like it's going through Detroit, and looks like Detroit's going to run with it as of now, which is crazy to say, but that's where we are.
Mario, a quick question for you, because since you were raised in the Midwest and you were raised, around people that hate the Green Bay Packers, this is the first time in your life you've seen the Packers struggle, right? I mean, you were born and raised when they had Favre and Rodgers, and now this is the first time. For years in the 70s and 80s, the Packers were garbage. They were garbage ever since Lombardi left. They were terrible. They had guys like Lynn Dickey when I was a kid as a quarterback. Nobody cared about the Packers. And then all of a sudden they get Favre and the Packers go on this roll, and then they get, Aaron Rodgers, same thing. So for you, let's be honest, Josh hates the Raiders and the Broncos more than any teams in the NFL. You hate the Packers probably more than any team in the NFL. I mean, this must be great for you. You must be loving this year. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Because even I remember I remember this game so well because when the Bears went on the run in 2006, and we got my whole family gathered around to watch them play the Packers, right? Because my dad's was my dad and my grandpa, grandpa just gave me his Buckus helmet because he said he couldn't look at it without crying every day. I'm like, that's a little depressing. All right. But
that's the saddest thing I ever heard.
Yeah. So, but hey, he's a legend. And I remember we were watching the game, and because the Bears are going to beat the hell out of the Packers. The Bears were in navy blue unis, all navy, and Rex Grossman, I think, threw like 4 or 5 interceptions, and the Bears lost. And like that, like ruined. I think that hurt more than a Super Bowl loss for my family. Like everyone was so angry that happened. So it does feel good that they're suffering right now. And I mean, it just goes to show you too, like you can't. They built that team in just such a dumb way. Like there's certain things that some organizations just choose to ignore, some positions, and you're like, you can't ignore the wide receiver position. I think there's 3 positions in the NFL 4 that you cannot ignore, right? The quarterback, the receiving group, run line, your O-line, and your D-line. You cannot ignore those groups. You just cannot. You have to have a good pass rusher. You have to have a good O-line. You have to have a good quarterback, and you got to have a true number 1 good target. And the Packers, I mean, they have injuries on their O-line, and then they just truly have to ignore the wide receiver group. And it's beautiful to see that come back and haunt them. And keep ignoring that. Keep bringing in more dumb, not good players that are number 3 receivers everywhere else. Keep doing it, you beautiful bastards. It's amazing, and no one wants to live in Wisconsin, so good luck.
They need to get rid of the owner they got over there with the Packers. You know what I mean?
The
whole city. I'm with you, Mario. One of the things that's so disturbing is I don't know if it's arrogance or ignorance. Which one is it? Because the Patriots, you have all these people that like to come out now and speak on the Patriots. What are they doing? They have the worst talent in the league. Mac Jones is not it, but the players around him are also not it. It's insane how some of these, franchises that people respect so much cannot figure it out. The Packers not getting a receiver to help out Aaron Rodgers. Like, are you that cocky or dumb? Like, which one is it? The Patriots, Bill Belichick, making horrible decisions in the draft over and over and over again, and getting bailed out by Tom Brady, frankly, is just crazy. And then you got the Chargers over here that have all these players that we expect to be all pros and whatnot. They can't win. I can't figure it out. I don't understand what the recipe is, but the Packers, to me, I don't feel bad for them at all. And Dave left out the Chiefs. I hate the Chiefs as well. So it's the Raiders, the Broncos, and the Chiefs. Those 3 teams, the whole AFC West. And to be honest, it's the Broncos I hate the most out of all those teams right there. But yeah, man, I don't get it. I don't understand how teams ignore certain positions. It makes no sense.
Yeah, the game last night, I think a lot of people thought there'd be a little bit more points. I thought it was a good Monday night game. I mean, there's some games you sit there and you look at and you're going, man, I have no desire to watch this game. We always talk about how, Monday Night Football used to be the thing where everybody sat around the TV and watched because that was the only game going. There was no Sunday Night Football, but Sunday Night Football always seems to end up with a great schedule. And you always wonder, how the hell does this happen? How does NBC always luck out? Doesn't ABC pay a tremendous amount of money and rights too? So overall, I think the game Sunday night, guys, I'm trying to find it right now. I think the game Sunday night is it's a throwaway game, right? It's one of those where you're sitting there shocked, going, "What the hell just happened here?" That it's not a good week. I'll pull it up real quick. I think the Giants are on Sunday night, and yeah, it's Giants and Buffalo Bills. Like, this is not the kind of game you'd sit down and say, unless you live in the state of New York, you have no desire to watch this game, right? The Monday night game, Cowboys and Chargers, should be a much better game than the Sunday night game between the Giants and Bills.
Dude, for God's sakes, the Giants making the playoffs last year was the worst thing for the United States of America. They get so many primetime games. Like, dude, nobody wants to watch that crap. The Giants, to me, are another one of those organizations where you're like, do they not draft? Do they miss the draft every year? How do they not have anybody on this team but Saquon Barkley? Every year, it makes no sense. Screw the Giants. Screw every team besides the Chargers. I love watching the Chargers. Unbiasedly, the Chargers are one of those teams that's fun to watch. If you see the Chargers on your schedule, you're like, I want to see this. Kudos to the NFL for giving us the Chiefs and the Vikings in the afternoon slot. And I hate when there's 25 games in the freaking 10 a.m. There's 2 crappy games at 1 p.m. I'm happy that the NFL fixed that, but I don't understand why Monday Night Football and Thursday Night Football have been weak the last few years. I didn't like the game on Monday. You said you liked it. It was entertaining. I thought it was sloppy. I didn't think it was good football.
It was sloppy. It was a close game, though. It wasn't like a blowout. Like, it came down to the last drive. That's what I was pointing out.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. I don't know. Chargers would have dominated both those teams if they were healthy with everybody. Yeah. Packers are pretenders.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. If you could switch already games on Sunday, wouldn't you much rather watch Tampa and Detroit I mean, who would have thought you'd say that before the season began? But wouldn't you rather watch Tampa and Detroit play?
100%.
Yeah.
Do you think that's the best game besides Chargers and Cowboys?
Yeah, I honestly, well, and 49ers, Cleveland would be a little bit interesting as well. But no, I think that is the best game of the week. It's kind of a interesting match. This week coming up in England is going to be Tennessee and Baltimore. So there's an early game again this week. But honestly, the best game is the Chargers Cowboys. It's the best game of the week.
Yeah.
There's so many storylines right there.
So many different storylines. Lions and Buccaneers would just be a fun one. Also, like, just if you're a Giants fan, I mean, I say this all the time, but like, even you have to be sick of being on primetime because everyone has an opinion on you during primetime. You know, like everyone knows your team. Everyone wants to complain, tell you how bad you are. Like, you want to be off primetime. You mentioned the way they built their team, Josh. Like, again, they kind of ignore the receiver group. They never really kind of, attach themselves to developing it. The Daniel Jones thing, I'm a firm believer every quarterback should be given 3 years to prove how good of a talent you are. Then after that third year, you make a decision. He's never been good. He had his best year last year, which is great. But I think that's also a guy that, we can't win a Super Bowl with you. You're not going to lead us on a playoff run. Like, he's just not going to do that. And if he was going to do that, he would need a system, kind of like a Niners system, where he's just surrounded by weapons and you don't surround him with that at all. You just have a really good running back and then a tight end that plays every 5 snaps. So it's just not really going to work with that team or anything like that. Cowboys Chargers is the game of the week. It's the must-see game. That's what it is. It's Kellen Moore versus his old team. It's Jerry Jones getting a little fed up, a little angry about what happened last week. Probably going to say some crazy on air this week about that team. It's Justin Herbert versus Dak Prescott. It's going to be a lot of storylines, a lot of fun things to happen. I hope we're all healthy. I mean, if I give you guys like a confidence, who are you most confident that will be available to play Monday? And who are you like, I really don't see them playing. I'm prepared for the Chargers to play without them and be without them come Monday.
The one I want in the lineup more than anybody right now, I know it makes sense to say Derwin James, but I want Ekeler in the lineup. For me, I want Ekeler.
Yeah, I want Ekeler. I'm tired of watching Joshua Kelly. I'm sure he's a great guy. Probably a really good teammate. Comes from a good family. I don't want him to be the lead running back. I really want to see Austin Ekeler play at the Chargers. And he's on my fantasy team. If he's on my fantasy
same.
team, it means more. But I want to see Austin Ekeler, and then my second choice would be Derwin James.
I think mine is Gilman. Besides the obvious ones, Gilman, just because I love the way he comes down and hits. I like that, like fires me up. I love that. And I really want Bosa. I think we're going to need every edge rusher we can against the Cowboys. Their O-line is banged up. They're not with their top guys. I'd have to check it again, but last week they were tied for first in most sacks. I know it's coming off Mac's career day, but if we can apply pressure on Dak does not like people in his face. He's not that good of a QB. So if you put pressure on him and we show everyone in America once again that this guy blows, then I think Chargers can be a really good spot.
So right now, when you look at the guys, you mentioned Dak. Dak's legs aren't great, right? He's a pure pocket passer now. Dak can't move like he used to be able to move, and even before he wasn't known as a guy that really moved. But because of his injuries in the NFL, he's basically a statue back there. You're going to keep Dak in the pocket. He's not, going to hurt you. Where Mahomes seems to know exactly how far to run for a first down, and even Herbert kind of figured it out how to get first downs with his legs. Dak's not that guy anymore. It's funny you mentioned Bosa. I was watching for Bosa on Sunday night. I mean, and Joey, not Nick. I would have been really upset if the camera's on Joey and Joey's up in San Francisco and he's, there with the family and the whole deal wearing the 49ers gear. Dude,
Why?
I hate it, Mario. Why? Because Nick doesn't do it for him. That's why. It's a one-sided brother relationship. I'm so sick and tired of that crap. I don't like guys wearing other teams' NFL gear. I don't like it. The Kelsey brothers love each other. Guess what? I don't see Jason wearing Travis's jersey. You know what I mean? That's just the way it goes. You sit there and you're supporting him, fine. But Joey's always there supporting Nick with hanging out with the mom. And you never see Nick down at SoFi watching Joey. When he has a bye week, I don't see Nick going to the games. So at the same time, I just didn't want to see Joey there because Joey made comments about playing in San Francisco at one time. That bothered me. You're getting paid a lot of money, like too much money for what you do. And when you talk about other organizations or wear their gear, I'm just not a Joey fan. I don't care if Joey plays or not. It doesn't matter to me. Honest to God, I don't care. He's number 5 on my list of guys I want. By the way,
Really?
Van Jefferson signing with the Falcons or getting traded to the Falcons, not a big deal for the Chargers. I mean, yeah, they need another wide receiver. He's a lower version of Josh Palmer, in my opinion. For anyone who's upset they didn't get him, I mean, the Chargers didn't get him. Look, let's be honest. Do you remember when the Rams won the Super Bowl against the Bengals and Jefferson's on the field and they tell him your wife's gone into labor, you got to get the hell out of here, and he sprints off the field to go to the hospital? He has sucked since that day. He has been nothing in the NFL since his wife had a baby. Okay, he's been an underachiever. I've watched almost every game he's ever played. I thought he was going to be a stud coming out of college. Ever since his wife had the baby, he's not been good. Chargers didn't miss anything.
All right, Mario. We're just going to act like he didn't say that. So, anyways,
I'm
Jalen
not against
Guyton.
pregnancy, but I'm for NFL wins.
I think you're against pregnancy. I think you're against pregnancy. That was my takeaway. What happened to Jalen Guyton? I know he was put on the I think PUP list, right? You can't play the first 4 games. Well, we've passed that point. Is he going to be active? Do you have an update on that? Because he's the same exact height as Van Jefferson. He's very, very similar receiver. I like Jalen Guyton to come back. I mean, there's an obvious glaring hole with the receivers. I don't have an update on him, but I don't understand what the Chargers are doing. I'm not saying Van Jefferson is the answer, but dude, Jarvis Landry, we're going to say it every show. Jarvis Landry's still out there. Why won't you sign Jarvis Landry? I don't understand, man. The Chargers to me are so much easier to guard if you have Josh Palmer, Keenan Allen, and you don't really have a number 3 with QJ. QJ is not ready yet. So I don't know. But I do like the Chargers in this game. The consensus among the national media is Cowboys are going to win, which just drives me nuts. Like, why would you think that? Why do you think the Cowboys offense is going to overtake the Chargers defense? Chargers defense to me is on the up and up. Cowboys offense is on the down. Dak Prescott said before the year, I will not throw 10 interceptions. Well, he's like halfway there. I'd like the Chargers to get a couple more picks against Dak Prescott, who I don't even think is a top 10 quarterback.
I think this game's going to come down to a lot of who's going to win, Dan Quinn or Kellen Moore of knowing more about the other. It's like no one knows each other better than Kellen Moore knows Dan Quinn and Dan Quinn knowing Kellen Moore. And now they face off against each other with a lot of fun options, right? Like Quinn obviously has a lot of people on defense for the Cowboys that he can move around and he can cause a lot of chaos for teams. Kellen Moore has a lot of weapons by the Chargers that he can move around and cause a lot of chaos for any defense in the league. I'm also interested, do we see more fun stuff with Darius Davis? We saw him get a couple carries from the backfield last game. We saw him move a lot in motion. Do we see more of that with him? Because he's a very explosive player. I think I wouldn't be surprised by the incoming flow of love for the Dallas Cowboys in this matchup. I will say this. I think if you do that, you all are really underestimating how much better Justin Herbert is than Dak Prescott. I mean, he is light years ahead of Dak Prescott. And if you just want to take a look at this game and really simplify it down, yes, it's Kellen Moore versus Dan Quinn, but it's also Herbert versus Dak. I'm taking Herbert 100 times out of 100. Like, I don't even need that one option with Dak. Like, I'm taking that every single time.
All right, so earlier in the show I messed up. I said the Cowboys lost by 28. They lost by 32, okay? Cowboys lost by 32. Dan Quinn walks in. Say that again?
I just said add 4.
Yeah, Dan Quinn walked into that whole stadium. I don't know if you saw it, wearing all black. Did you see him? Black suit.
For his own funeral?
Shirt.
I forgot about that.
Remember that?
What an idiot.
Yeah.
Never do that. Never do that.
Like, dude, you don't even play. You don't even
like
play
Ball
today.
State. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're gonna walk in like the Undertaker? Okay. maybe everybody on the Cowboys should take down every mirror in their house. I don't even know you guys look at each other after the performance you guys pulled out on Sunday night in front of the entire country. Absolutely ridiculous. Kellen Moore, we're gonna learn a lot from Kellen Moore because, in my opinion, if I'm Kellen Moore and you were disrespected by being fired, this is where you pull out everything in your bag of tricks. And you could say Dan Quinn knows this, Dan Quinn knows that, the Cowboys know this tendency, everything else. This is where things change. Terminology has changed also because I'm sure he uses the same terminology he's always used when he's with the Dallas Cowboys. They've had 2 weeks to prepare to change things up. Dan Quinn should be reacting to what Kellen Moore is doing. And if Kellen Moore is not impressive in play calling on Sunday, Monday, it should tell us a lot about Kellen Moore. And so for me, I'm expecting Kellen Moore to completely outcoach Dan Quinn. I will be surprised if he doesn't. He should have a leg up and be a step ahead of him the entire game of what he's going to call this week.
Kellen Moore revenge game. We've been calling it Kellen Moore
Mm.
revenge game. Can't wait. I want to know if he has any antics because he doesn't do anything. I want to see one throat slash at the end of the game. One Kellen Moore throat slash
Or chop, or just a chop. Either one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The suck thing. If we can get
just
one
a cowboy
throat
hat
slash,
over his crotch. Yeah.
anything, a bow, I'll take anything. Any slight gesture would be great. So let's go over the quarterbacks the Cowboys have faced so far. Okay. Week 1, Daniel Jones. Week 2, Zach Wilson. Week 3, Josh Dobbs. Week 4, Mac Jones. Week 5, Brock Purdy. Week 6, Justin Herbert. They haven't seen anything like this yet. I'd expect the Chargers to put up massive points. And I say this every week, but you expect that from a Chargers team that's getting back Austin Ekeler. If you're going to choose between Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore, I'm taking Kellen Moore, 7 days. Like he's the guy that you want every day of the week. Dan Quinn, to me, is working with a broken team. Leighton Vander Esch is banged up. Trayvon Diggs is out for the season. They have Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons can't do everything. You'd expect Kellen Moore to drop something, crazy to make it hard on Dan Quinn, and he has this extra time. Advantage Chargers. If I'm a betting man, which I'm going to be for this game, I'm betting Chargers 100%.
I want to rewind completely back to the Dan Quinn dressed up in the all black because I can't get over that. Like that is something like Tyreek Hill would do. Like the star player, a young star, and Tyreek's not that young, but like a young star player on a good team would do that. A little bit of a John McQueen wide receiver would do that. How about the
Jamar Chase would do that.
Jamar Chase would do that. Yeah.
Those
How
guys
about
all play. They actually play.
Yeah. They all actually play the game. And also, you're not the head coach, Dan boy. You're the defensive coordinator. The defensive coordinator. Quit trying to take the camera shine. Like, holy hell, you already get enough shots of you up in the press box, standing up and with your pencil in your ear. We just think that's the guy that blew the lead to the Patriots. That's what we have you have. So, like, until we get over that, shut your mouth. Stop trying to wear all black and show off and don't get embarrassed. Like that was the dumbest thing I could have ever seen. Like what a numbnuts. But that's the point.
All right. I don't even know what to say. Again, I'm looking forward to it. It can't get here fast enough for this game. It's one of those we circled on our schedule, and we don't even know Kellen Moore. We talk about Kellen Moore like he's been our lifelong friend. Like we want it for him, right? We want it for him as a revenge game. I love revenge stuff. This is a revenge game for him. This is an opportunity. Let's be honest with both these guys. This is a resume game for both Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore. Dan Quinn's always been a guy that he's going to get a job offer. Well, he hasn't. He hasn't gotten a job offer. Dan Quinn got embarrassed on Sunday Night Football against the Niners. He gets embarrassed again on Monday night against the Chargers. That resume doesn't look too good. You could take that pencil right out of here and stick it right in because things aren't going well, Dan. Not going well. How you doing, Dan? Not good? Bad? And that's how I hope it happens. I like to see a tear.
So we just completely went into making fun of the Cowboys. So hopefully this doesn't come back at us.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Well, there's not that many Cowboys fans out there. Don't worry about it. They won't
call my shot.
They won't find us.
Yeah, they won't find us at all. Does this game mean more for the Cowboys or the Chargers?
Cowboys.
Why?
Completely, because 2 national games back to back. Completely embarrassed by the Niners. You just went through the list of quarterbacks, Josh. This is the best quarterback they're going to see. You cannot win in the playoffs if you can't sit there and you go back-to-back weeks losing.
Yeah. I mean, aren't the Chargers and Cowboys kind of in the same position?
No.
They're the second best team. They're the second best team in their division, and everybody knows it. They're not there yet, but
okay, here's the deal. Let's be honest. Tuesday morning when you turn on the national shows, they're either going to talk about the Cowboys losing or the Cowboys winning. It's never going to be about the Chargers winning, right? Every narrative is going to be how the Cowboys' outcome was. It's not going to be about the Chargers. This game is definitely bigger for the Cowboys.
Well, you could say that about every game the Cowboys play then, because the people are just going to talk about them more.
Different. It's different. This is a national game against a supposedly playoff team. I mean, everyone knows they haven't played anybody until they face the Niners. Now you're facing another team that is a somebody. You lose 2 in a row, you're going to see headlines as a panic time in Dallas. McCarthy has to go.
I think it's even. I'd say it's even. Because if Cowboys lose this, they lose 2 in a row. And like you said, it's McCarthy has to go. Someone has to go. Someone needs to catch a blame. I think it's the exact same thing for the Chargers. Who have the Chargers beaten? Kirk Cousins? Aiden O'Connell? That's your 2 wins on the year. You want to be a playoff team, you're going to have to prove it. That's no better way to prove it than beating the Cowboys on prime time. Plus, if they lose this game, they go at Kansas City the next week. High chance they lose that game. Then you're 2-4. And after 2-4, you face Chicago and the Jets, which are just not good teams, but Jets can be frisky. So you could go these next 2 weeks, go 2-4, which would really hurt you, or you can go 3-3, or you go 4-2. And I think either way, if the Cowboys win, they look better. It's like, okay, they beat at least a playoff team. If the Chargers win, you beat the Cowboys in prime time. You prove that you are capable of being a playoff team. And it's your first win that you can kind of hang your hat on. So I think it matters for both teams.
It does. Well, obviously it matters for both teams. I'm just saying that which team is going to hurt the most, it's going to be the Cowboys. The Cowboys have to question their existence, man, of everything that they think they are. They are, because what do we say about the Chargers chasing the Chiefs? You're 1 game back right now, right? You lose to, let's say you lose to the Cowboys. Then you have the Chiefs the following week on the road. And you go, that more likely it's a loss. That's what the odds makers are going to have. That's a loss. So now look how many games back you're at. Really quickly, you're back really far. You're on pace to be 4-4 through 8 games. That's not what you want.
Josh,
I mean, it just sounds ridiculous to say that, but that's not what you want. Yeah.
We have breaking news, Josh. Austin Ekeler said he's 99% chance he plays on, well, he says Sunday, which I think he means Monday. So 99% chance he plays on Monday. How do you feel? More confidence now?
When he comes out,
if he plays on Sunday.
Yeah.
And he's not available Monday.
Tired. Yeah, he's going to be tired if he plays on Sunday.
I'm not playing Monday. I never said I was playing Monday.
Yeah, I'm not playing back-to-back days. You crazy? I mean, it makes me feel good.
See Ekeler on Sunday, please tell him the game's tomorrow, please.
Hey, quick story. You got to tell the story about when you went to Arizona. It's the funniest story of all time.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. You told this last year.
I did tell.
You said last year? Oh,
yeah.
my God. It's my favorite.
Yeah. Should I tell it now for the people that missed it?
Yeah, I screwed it up. You got to tell it now. Sorry.
Yeah, you tell now. But it
all right. It was it was week 1 in the NFL season, and I'm in Phoenix, and I'm right across the street from, I think it's called State Farm Stadium now, where the Cardinals play. And the Cardinals are playing the Titans week 1 of the 2022 NFL season. And I'm, downstairs eating the free breakfast. And all of a sudden the elevator opens up and this guy comes walking out wearing Titans sweatpants, a Titans shirt, and a Titans cap. And he just walks right through the front door. And I'm like, where the hell is this guy going? And it's about 9:00 in the morning and the game starts at 10 in Nashville. But this guy just starts walking across the parking lot, walks through the hotel parking lot, watch him walk right in the stadium parking lot. And he goes up to the first door and he yanks on the door, doesn't open. Then I see him walk around the stadium to the next door, yanks on the door. And then he goes to the ticket window and he's like, where's everybody? And they're like, sir, the game's in Nashville. It's not in Phoenix. This guy literally flew in to watch the Cardinals and Titans, stayed in the same hotel I stayed in, and the game was 2,000 miles away. And he just came walking back, and I was like, I just looked at him. What was the score? How did the game go? And he was so disgusted and irritated. How much did that guy pay for airline tickets, for a ticket to the game? Think about it. He got a ticket to the game.
So much.
And then you got to explain to your family that, hey, how the hell did this just happen?
Yeah.
I've never seen that before.
It's the funniest story of all time.
I wish I would have recorded it with my phone. I couldn't believe what I was watching.
You should have. I would have liked to think that this guy was from Nashville, that had a ticket for his home city. He flew to Arizona, and it was some money he really didn't have. And he had to explain to his wife that I'm a real fan and I have to use this money. And then he has to call her and let her know I just completely wasted the money that we really needed.
If that was your girlfriend or wife, would you admit it that what you did, or you just say, how was the game? It was great. It wasn't great. The Cardinals actually won by 40. The Cardinals killed the Titans that day.
I remember that. Yeah, Chandler Jones went off.
Yeah,
I think I would get unbelievably drunk and then tell him.
Get unbelievably drunk?
Yeah, I would go to a bar and I would look at the guy. I go, "You're gonna feed me till we can't go anymore, Bubba. That's what we're gonna do."
There's so many things that were red flags. Dude, the game's at 10 in the morning. Nobody plays a West Coast game at 10 in the morning.
Yeah,
you idiot.
There's warning signs. But we've all had situations where that you're like, damn, that was pretty stupid. And there's so many warning signs and I still did it. We've all been there.
Oh my gosh! All right, recap how we did picking games last week before we get out of here.
Can you guys guess who went 10-3?
Dave.
Ooh, I've been on fire lately. I have no idea I did because I told you I thought I picked. I was saying don't take my picks. I have no idea what's going to happen this week. It was tough last week.
Josh went 10-3.
Woo! Look at that.
10-3.
Should have bet.
I went 6-7. It's a tough week for your boy. By the way, this next week of slate of games is going to be really tough to pick too. Dave, you went 8-5.
8-5, dude. I've been winning.
You've been winning. We're proud
I
of
love
you.
when you do the totals. How are the totals doing?
Yeah, we'll count the totals for Thursdays, brother. Totals for Thursdays before we pick them.
I was left when we realized last week that Mario's math doesn't work out. That none of us have picked the same amount of games. It's so funny.
That I just still can't. No dumb moment. Feel the Arizona guy. The fact that I didn't realize that me and Josh had the same amount of losses, and he had more wins than I did. And Josh just goes, "Hey, so I'm 31-27. You're 29-27." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "How does that make sense?" Good point. Very good point. I don't know. It's a very good point. Can't argue with that one.
That's too damn funny. All right, we'll come back on Thursday. We'll break down more of what's going to see in this Cowboy Charger game. And of course, we're going to pick games as well, which is always fun. But it's a big week. Chargers taking on the Dallas Cowboys. Should be exciting. Again, thanks for watching on YouTube. So many people have subscribed. We ask you to subscribe all the time. I think Mario screaming at you has actually worked. At the same time, leave a comment. We appreciate the comments as well. A lot of people not a fan of my stance on artificial turf. That's fine. It looks good on TV. That's all I'm going to say. All right. And don't tell me that the Niners don't get hurt like Mario says because they play on grass either. I don't want to hear that argument. He said it during the show. Pay attention. I got it. Mario said it. He's absolutely right. And then at the same time, we will be back. I believe we're doing a show, guys, on Sunday and Monday, right? Make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't planning on it, but yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Two for the people.
Yeah, it's for the people.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
For the people.
All right.
Yeah.
So we'll be back in a couple days talking more Charger football with you. Again, you're listening to the Bolt City podcast, courtesy of Odyssey. For Mario Heron, for Josh Palais, I'm Dave Palais. We'll see you in a couple days.
Hey, if you subscribe from here to our next show on Thursday that we're going to record, I'll write a poem about you. A nice little poem. And we'll read it aloud. So subscribe, you idiots.